Hello and welcome back to Playful Pedagogy. I'm Maureen and this is video 5 in the series on Harvard Project Zero's visible thinking routines. Today we're talking about think, pair, share. You might be thinking, think, pair, share, I already know that one. Maybe you do. Most teachers have heard of it. Many use it regularly. And I want to talk about what makes it work and what can make it fall apart. 3 words, 3 steps, more moving parts than anything else in this series. Let me start with this story. We were at the end of our solar system unit in science. My scientists had just completed an I used to think, now I think thinking routine, which if you haven't seen that thinking routine, it's earlier in the series, so check it out if you're curious. The scientists have been writing down what they believed before the unit started and what they believe now. Their thinking was on the page, real, specific, sometimes surprising even to themselves. Then I asked them to pair up and share what they had learned over the unit. When we got together, whole group, I asked them to share something they genuinely appreciated that their partner had learned. Not a summary of what they had learned, not a list of facts, but something their partner knew now that they didn't know before that they found interesting or surprising or worth passing on. There were Me Too moments. 2 learners discovering they had both let go of the same misconception, nodding at each other with something that looked a lot like understanding. There were "oh really" moments, quiet surprise at where someone else's thinking had gone. And then from somewhere in the room, there was this: the oceans were different colors, even red ones. Oh yeah! That oh yeah moment. The kind where you can feel the whole class lean in slightly, recalibrating, because it's true. Earth's oceans have been different colors before: red, green, pink, purple, across the billions of years of history, only settling into the blue we know today relatively recently in geological time. That scientist had learned that fact, and their partner had just remembered it too, and now through the share, the whole room remembered. That is Think, Pair, Share at its best. Not a warm-up activity, more than a transition tool, an amplifier for thinking that was already real, already specific, already theirs. So, what is Think, Pair, Share, and where does it come from? That is actually a very interesting question, because Think, Pair, Share has been around longer than Project Zero's Visible Thinking Initiative. It was created by Professor Frank Lyman at the University of Maryland in 1981. Originally designed to give more students a genuine chance to respond, not just the fastest hand in the room. To give learners what was called think time. In the 40-plus years since, it has been adopted by nearly every major educational framework. Project Zero built it into their Visible Thinking collection. Kagan wrote it into his cooperative learning structures, and Marzano referenced it in his research on classroom instruction. It is everywhere because it works. 3 words, 3 steps. And let's take a closer look. The structure is straightforward. You pose a question or a prompt. Learners take a few moments to think independently, ideally with a real response forming before anyone else speaks. Then, when directed, they turn to a partner and talk through the answer to the question or the prompt. And then some or all of those pairs share their thinking with the wider group. This is the whole routine. What makes it powerful, in my opinion, is what happens inside each of those 3 steps. The think phase might be the most important and the most challenging to facilitate. It is more than filler time while you wait for pairs to start. It is the moment when quieter learners, or learners who just need a little bit more time to gather their thoughts, get to form a real response before anyone else speaks. Robert Stahl, who coined the term think time in 1994, found that even a few seconds of protected silence changed the quality and length of student responses dramatically. Before him, Mary Budd Rowe had studied what she called wait time and found that most teachers at that time waited less than 1.5 seconds before speaking again. 1.5 seconds. Fortunately, we have moved forward since then. That silence has work to do. It needs the time and space to do its work. The pair phase is where magic can happen, or where things can go completely sideways. I'll say more about that in a few moments. The share phase is often the weakest link, where pairs report back and the energy might drop because it might feel like a slightly more complicated version of hands up. However, I have some strategies to keep the energy up during the share time. For language learners, whole class discussion can feel very high stakes. Your thinking is public, your language is on display, and the window to speak open and closes fast. For a learner who's still building vocabulary and confidence, that window might as well be a wall. Think, pair, share helps change that. In the think phase, it gives students time to organize their thoughts and do some recall and search for the words that they're looking for in the target language. In the pair phase, it's just two people, low volume, low stakes, a safe place to try out language before it goes public. The sentence frames of TPS, Think, Pair, Share, are language scaffolds as much as they are thinking scaffolds. Used repeatedly across units and topics, they become acquired structures. Things like, I think because, my partner thinks, we both notice. When learners know that anyone might be called to share, it's not just the talker, but the listener too, the pair conversation becomes a bit more purposeful. Both people need to understand the language to express it. That shared accountability is a powerful condition, and the learners help each other out. Now, think, pair, share can go completely sideways, and I think it's worth being honest about that. One partner talks, the other one might just nod politely and wait for pair time to end. Or two students may sit comfortably in silence, each waiting for the other one to go first. Or, my personal favorite, the pair is deep into animated conversation about something that has nothing to do with the lesson. These things happen to me too, a lot. They are not failures of the routine, they're signals about conditions. So what can we do about it? The pair that goes off topic, sometimes that's fine. I might let it run a moment or two and then redirect. The pair in silence, they may need a sentence frame or a clever prompt or simply told which partner should go first. And I have a whole deck of cards to help them choose and make things a little bit more playful. If one of the pairs disappears from the conversation entirely, that might be a pairing problem and it's on us to fix it. Which brings me to pairs. The pairing problem. My preferred method for randomization is a deck of playing cards. One card per student handed out at the beginning of class. It looks completely random, but not. I have organized these and thought about it ahead of time. I have written each student's name in color on the top of a card, and students will pair up my instruction either by the suit of the card or the value of the card or the color of their name. So there is one deck, 4 different grouping options, lots of flexibility for me. Spencer Kagan spent decades researching cooperative learning and landed on a principle I find brilliant. Strategic grouping works best when learners cannot see the strategy. I borrowed that idea and made it my own. I set the deck up in advance. I know exactly who is holding which card. The randomness feels fair, but the structure underneath is deliberate enough to protect student thinking. When a sharp-eyed student spots the pattern, and some do, and honestly, good for them, I smile, acknowledge it, and start a new deck. An upgrade I've been working on is using card sleeves with a colored paper insert in the back so I can reshuffle the hidden groupings without writing their name on the card, and I can reuse the decks more often. I can also use my multi-sided dice for regrouping, which is a whole other system. If you want the full card or dice system, I have the blogs and videos for both linked in the description. Is that cheating? A little. Is it good teaching? I think so. The goal is not randomness for its own sake. The goal is thinking, and sometimes you need to quietly protect the conditions for that thinking to happen. Making the share phase come alive. Let me share a few moves that have changed how I run the share phase of Think, Pair, Share. First, I tell the class that they need to be responsible for sharing not only what they said, but what their partner said. So more than just here is my thinking, but also here's what my partner was thinking. Suddenly the listener has to listen, and the pair conversation has real purpose because both partners are responsible for understanding each other's ideas. Second, think, pair, share, square. The pair shares with another pair before the share with the whole class. Everyone gets 2 different opportunities to share thinking and perspectives and share their thinking with other people, sharing their ideas with other people before the room gets big. The share phase becomes a larger conversation with people who are already warmed up. Third is the dice roll and the accountability that comes with it. Before pairing begins, I remind learners that anybody might be called on and everybody is responsible for making sure everybody has the answers and understanding. So roll the dice, and then the quality of the pair conversations goes up when learners know that everybody might be called on. And finally, no repeats before everyone shares. I track who has spoken. I draw from different tables. Nobody shares twice before everybody's had the chance to share once. It takes a little quiet organization on my part, but it sends the message that everyone's thinking matters. Think, Pair, Share is already one of the most naturally social routines in this series. Here are some ways to turn up the dial. 1. Yes and storytelling. Give pairs a story starter connected to your unit. For example, a scientist looked into a microscope and found. And then ask learners to build the story together, taking turns, one sentence at a time, yes and style. No blocking, no vetoing, just building. The constraint of having to accept your partner's contribution and extend it is genuinely playful. And it creates the kind of collaborative thinking that surprises partners, and the variety of the stories is always entertaining. 2. The fishbowl. After think time, one pair has their conversation in the center of the room while everyone else watches. The observers are not passive. They have a job. They have to notice what kind of thinking moves the pair is making. Are they agreeing? Are they challenging? Are they building? After the fishbowl pair finishes, the observers share. This is metacognition dressed up as theater. I take volunteers for this one. 3. Roll cards. Before the pair phase, each partner draws a roll card. The questioner, their job is to ask, not tell. Builder, the job is to extend what the partner says. Devil's advocate, their job is to find the holes. And observer, their job is to report back to the whole group during the share phase. The roles create productive friction and they take the pressures off. For example, if you're the devil's advocate, you're not being difficult, you're doing your job. This is particularly useful for learners who find disagreement uncomfortable. The roll cards can rotate after the observer reports during the share. Why it belongs in every classroom. Think, Pair, Share works in language class. It works in science. It works in history, math, PE, art, anywhere you have questions that you're thinking about and more than one learner in the room. Every subject has its own language and every discipline has its way of talking about ideas. When learners have protected time to think, a safe placed for them to try out their thinking with one person before the whole class hears it, and a structure that holds the whole class accountable, that's when thinking gets good. That's when learning grows. 3 steps. 40 plus years and counting. Still working. Before I go, here's your challenge for this week. Pick a question from whatever your class is working on right now. Something genuinely worth thinking about. Not a recall question, but something with real room for interpretation or opinion. Give learners a few minutes of quiet think time, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and then pair them either randomly or strategically or somewhere in between. Tell them before they start that anyone might be called on and they are responsible for knowing what their partner thinks. Then listen to the room while they talk. Notice the pairs that build something together. Notice the ones that go quiet. Notice what the energy tells you about the prompt or the pairing or what your learners actually know. The share phase will take care of itself, especially if you roll the dice. If something unexpected, funny, or genuinely surprising comes out of it, please tell me about it in the comments below. I really love reading those. The blog post version of this video is on playfulpedagogy.com. The link is in the description. And if you found this useful, please like and subscribe. It helps this channel grow and it means more teachers find these ideas. There's also Friday Funnies and Tuesdays Tools, Tips, and Tricks on my Instagram, so find me there. Also linked in the description below. Next up in the series, headlines, the 6 words test of what you understood from the lesson. I'm excited to share that with you. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a day full of play, and I will see you next time. Bye.